Headlines: boots are on the ground as Israel begins the first stages of its long-planned assault on Gaza City. The Israeli Defense Forces claims it already controls parts of the city's outskirts and Hamas is battered and bruised. The IDF vows to deploy thousands more troops in the coming days. Thailand steps up its war on drugs. Authorities seizing billions in narcotics, expand rehab programs, and chase down thousands of fugitives who are still on the run. Big promises, tough questions. The Philippine Agriculture Department says it needs a whopping 3.5 trillion pesos to boost the country's farm sector, but senators aren't buying it, pressing officials why rice output keeps falling despite a bigger budget. Sending mixed signals. North Korea is calling out the South, with Kim Jong-un's sister slamming Seoul and President Lee Jae-myung for double-dealing. She says South Korea talks peace but still trains with the U.S. military. Russia dismisses Western security talks on Ukraine. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov calls them a road to nowhere, insisting Moscow cannot be sidelined while others decide Kyiv's future. And Cambodia is ramping up its green finance push, turning to sustainable bonds to help pay for climate and development goals. And President Cyril Ramaphosa is driving a big trade push in Japan, engaging top business leaders at the Africa-Japan Summit, where growth, empowerment, and connectivity top the agenda. I'm Fatima Nawzil. Newsline World starts now. Israel says the first steps of its long-planned assault on Gaza City are already underway. The military claims it now controls parts of the city's outskirts and that Hamas is battered and bruised. This report. The Israeli Defense Forces say troops are already operating in Gaza City's Zaytun and Zabalia neighborhoods, calling them the preliminary actions of a ground assault that aims to capture and occupy the entire city. At a televised briefing, IDF spokesperson Brigadier General Efi Defrim says Hamas is battered and bruised after nearly 2 years of war. The offensive will target Hamas strongholds both above and below ground, and that troops have already moved into Gaza City's outskirts. Defense Minister Israel Katz approved the plan this week, with the full security cabinet expected to review it in the coming days. The IDF says some 60,000 reservists will be called up starting September to free up active duty soldiers for the campaign.
התחלנו כוחות נוספים יצטרפו ללחימה בזמן הקרוב.
The International Committee of the Red Cross warns the move will lead to more displacement and fighting will only worsen an already catastrophic situation for Gaza's 2.1 million people. Hundreds of thousands of residents in Gaza City are expected to be ordered to evacuate to the south once the full assault begins. Meanwhile, mediation efforts continue. Qatar and Egypt have floated a new proposal for a 60-day truce and the release of about half the hostages. Hamas says it has accepted, but Israel insists only a comprehensive deal freeing all remaining hostages will be considered. Hamas accuses Israel of rejecting ceasefire efforts in favor of what it calls a brutal war against civilians. Reporting this. Thailand is stepping up its war on drugs, cracking down harder, expanding rehab, and chasing down thousands of fugitives still on the run. Anissa de Guzman has the full details.
Thailand is taking a tougher stand on illegal drugs. Acting Prime Minister Phumtham Wechayachai declared the fight against narcotics a top national priority, launching the campaign No Drugs, No Dealers toward Zero Drugs Thailand during his visit to Chiang Mai. Since October last year, authorities have seized a staggering haul: 222 million meth pills, 11 tons of crystal meth, nearly 2 tons of ketamine, 200 kilos of heroin, and 155 kilos of opium. In the same period, more than 20,000 suspects were arrested in over 22,000 drug cases, with close to 1,000 warrants served. PAMTAM has ordered tighter coordination among agencies, from the Interior and Defense Ministries to the police and local governments. The campaign also expands the use of new drug detection technology, boosts monitoring of bars and night spots, and heightens community vigilance against traffickers. Beyond crackdowns, the government is also stepping up rehabilitation. Over 140,000 people are already in treatment nationwide, but officials warn thousands of known traffickers are still on the run. I'm Anissa de Guzman, your global citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
In Japan, President Cyril Ramaphosa is pushing for stronger economic ties, meeting with top business leaders on the sidelines of a major development summit in Yokohama. Ramaphosa sat down with executives from key industries, including the auto sector, before joining Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba and fellow African leaders for a group photo. This year's Tokyo International Conference on African Development, or TCAD, zeroes in on private sector growth, empowering women and young people, and boosting regional connectivity. Japan also rolled out a major pledge, training 300,000 Africans over the next 3 years, including 30,000 in cutting-edge fields like AI and data science. Tokyo also reaffirmed its support for the African Continental Free Trade Area. The three-day conference brings together leaders from 49 African nations and wraps up Friday with the signing of a Yokohama Declaration. Meanwhile, the Quezon City government has ordered the suspension of the Department of Public Works and Highways Mariblo Pumping Station project, citing fears it could worsen flooding in nearby communities. In San Juan City, the San Juan River has turned into a massive dump site due to indiscriminate garbage disposal. More on this from Jason Rubrico.
Heaps of trash were hauled out of the San Juan River in a cleanup drive led by the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, with support from private groups. The local government of San Juan welcomed the move, noting that the river frequently overflows during heavy rains.
Tuwing malakas po ang ulan, lalong-lalo na nung nagkaroon tayo ng sunod-sunod na mga bagyo at habagat, ay talagang umaapaw po ang tubig dito sa San Juan River. At kung nasilip po ninyo ang ating San Juan River ngayon, makikita niyo po ang dami ng basura na nakukuha ng ating trash trap.
San Juan City Mayor Francis Zamora further says dredging is now urgent as years of silt and garbage have left the river too shallow.
Yung lalim po kasi ng ilog ay hindi na po katulad ng dati, sapagat nag-ipon-ipon na po yung burak, yung basura, at mas mababaw na siya ngayon. Kaya konting ulan lamang ay umaapaw na po ito. So mahalaga po talaga na bumalik ang dating lalim ng ating mga ilog at mga creek.
The MMDA reported at least 2 truckloads of garbage were collected by noon. Chairman Romando Artes assured the cleanup will continue until all rivers and esteros in Metro Manila are cleared.
Definitely, tuloy-tuloy naman po yan. Sabi ko nga po sa inyo, meron na tayong mga kagamitan, meron tayong personnel, at marami na po tayong volunteers, padami po ng padami. Hindi po tayo titigil doon sa 23 esteros. Meron po tayong 273 na waterways po na kailangan po talaga lahat linisin natin.
Both Artes and Zamora also appealed for discipline among residents to properly dispose of their waste. Meanwhile, the Quezon City government blocked the proposed Mariblo pumping station of the DPWH. In its letter of objection, the Quezon City Local Government Unit, or LGU, said the project violates the water code and could even worsen flooding since it narrows the creek and lacks capacity. City officials stressed all flood control projects must follow Quezon City's drainage master plan to truly solve flooding. At the same time, calls for transparency in flood control projects grew louder. In a joint statement, mayors from Quezon City, Baguio, Pasig, and other cities demanded full disclosure of documents, contractors, and politicians behind these multi-billion peso projects. The group stressed that Filipinos have long suffered from both flooding and corruption, making accountability long overdue. They added that officials proven guilty of stealing public funds must not only be removed from office, but also jailed. For God and my beloved Philippines, I am Jason Rubrico, SMNI News.
Up next, sending mixed signals. North Korea is calling out the South with Kim Jong-un's sister slamming Seoul and President Lee Jae-myung for double dealing. She says South Korea talks peace but still trains with the U.S. military. And Russia dismisses Western security talks on Ukraine. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov calls them a road to nowhere, insisting Moscow cannot be sidelined while others decide Kiev's future. Newsline World will be back after the break.
Sa kabila ng mga mas modernong kaalaman at teknolohiya, nananatiling matindi ang banta ng HIV sa Pilipinas. Pero gaano nga ba kalala ang sitwasyon? Ang HIV o Human Immunodeficiency Virus ay isang sakit na sumisira sa immune system ng katawan. Ngunit tandaan, hindi ito nakukuha sa simpleng pakikisalamuha. Hindi mo agad mararamdaman, pero unti-unti nitong pinapahina ang katawan. At kapag hindi naagapan, humahantong ito sa AIDS, ang huling yugto na impeksyon, kung saan halos wala ng panlaban ng katawan laban sa sakit. Patuloy na dumadami ang kaso ng sakit na ito sa Pilipinas. Isang nakababahalang pagtaas. Umabot na sa 500% ang itinaas ng HIV cases sa mga kabataang edad 15 hanggang 25. Ayon mismo sa Department of Health, 56 na bagong kaso ang naitatala kada araw sa bansa mula Enero hanggang Marso 2025. At ang pinakamatinding apektado, ang kalalakihan at kabataang Pilipino. Dahil dito, ang Pilipinas na ngayon ang may pinakamataas na bilang ng bagong kaso ng HIV sa buong Western Pacific region. Isang indikasyon ng lumulubahang sitwasyon, kaya nananawagan ng Department of Health gawing opisyal at urgent ang laban sa HIV sa pamamagitan ng isang Public Health Emergency Declaration. Kalalakihan ng pangunahing apektado, 95% ng bagong kaso ay lalaki. Mahigit 1/3 ay kabataang nasa edad 15 hanggang 24. Habang wala pang deklarasyon, patuloy ang DOH sa mga sumusunod na hakbang: HIV testing, libreng gamot, self-test kits, at pakikipagtulungan sa DepEd para sa edukasyon sa mga paaralan. Isinulong rin ng DOH ang online patient appointment system para sa HIV patients. Layunin nitong gawing mas madali at mas personal ang pag-access sa libreng gamutan at konsultasyon ayon sa schedule ng pasyente. Ang HIV ay hindi tulad ng flu. Hindi ito basta naipapasa sa hangin. Ito ay naipapasa sa pamamagitan ng personal na desisyon. Kailangan din nating pagtuunan ng pansin ang ugali, disiplina at personal na responsibilidad. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Anything that tries your faith and puts you on the spot of deciding whether to continue or to stop is a fire. Whether it is persecution, whether it is loved ones, family, anything that will try your faith, whether to continue or to stop or to overcome or draw back, it is called fire. Now, salvation is based upon our building up on the foundation. Whether silver, gold, stubble, precious stones. That means if it is gold, then it's genuine. It can go through the fire, but it will stay. When your confession of commitment and dedication is not true, when the fire goes through you, you will be burned. That's why I love my ministry. Because all of those that are able to overcome are certified 100% pure gold. Pure gold. Hypocrites have no place in the kingdom nation. Pretenders have no place in the kingdom nation. Plastics don't have place in the kingdom nation. Why? Because before we can be ushered into the new world, we should be tried by fire.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's sister Kim Yo-jong accused South Korea and President Lee Jae-myung of double dealing, saying Seoul talks about peace while carrying out joint military drills with the United States, according to state media KCNA. More of this story from Joy Tabanao.
Tensions are once again running high on the Korean peninsula as South Korea and the United States kicks off major joint military drills. Pyongyang is lashing out, calling the exercises a rehearsal for invasion. The large-scale drills include upgraded defense responses to counter North Korea's advancing nuclear program. Seoul and Washington say the exercises are defensive in nature, but Pyongyang strongly disagrees. Kim Yo-jong, the powerful sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, blasted South Korea's leadership, accusing Seoul of talking peace while pursuing what she called ulterior motives. She warned that inter-Korean ties will not improve under such circumstances. The South Korean presidential office responded, saying its measures are aimed at promoting stability and shared prosperity. Earlier this week, Kim Jong-un himself denounced the drills as a provocation of war and vowed to further expand his country's nuclear arsenal. Joy Tabanao, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Beijing is betting big on the future of space-based internet, pushing ahead with an ambitious 6G satellite network that analysts say could reshape global communications and boost China's push for tech self-reliance. Erica Rio reports.
China is rapidly advancing its plans to build a space-based internet network to rival SpaceX Starlink. In just 22 days, the country has launched 38 low Earth orbit or LEO satellites across 5 separate missions. These satellites are part of the Gurwang or GW constellation, which aims to deploy nearly 13,000 satellites in total, marking China's most ambitious step yet toward building a national satellite internet system. The project is also being positioned as China's first integrated aerospace-based 6G internet network, signaling Beijing's intent to lead the future of ultra-high-speed, low-latency communications. Analysts view this accelerated rollout as part of a broader push for technological self-reliance and space-based strategic dominance, particularly as global competition intensifies in both the commercial and military application of satellite internet. Erica Rio, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Chinese President Xi Jinping is in Tibet's capital, where he led celebrations for the 60th anniversary of the founding of the Xizang Autonomous Region. The event was marked with song, dance, and a message of unity. Daniela Paulita for the story.
Chinese President Xi Jinping, joined by top Chinese leaders, attended a gala called Joyful Songs of the Snowy Plateau region. The evening featured 3 parts, one highlighting Tibet's socialist development, another celebrating reforms and modernization, and a final act portraying prosperity in today's Xizang. Earlier in the day, Xi led a central delegation to Lhasa for the anniversary ceremonies. Officially founded in 1965 after sweeping political reforms, the Xizang region covers more than 1 million square kilometers, or about 1/8 of China's landmass. Today, its population stands at nearly 4 million. State media says Xizang has seen dramatic growth over 6 decades. In the first half of this year, the region's economy expanded by more than 7%, ranking among the fastest in China. Its overall output is now more than 150 times higher than when the autonomous region was created. China's government describes Tibet's development as a success story. But the region remains closely watched by international observers, with human rights groups raising questions about Beijing's policies there. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Daniela Paulita, SMNI News.
Russia's foreign minister says the West is wasting its time. Sergei Lavrov claims that any talks on Ukraine's security without Moscow are a road to nowhere. His remarks come as global leaders debate new guarantees for Kiev's future. Franco Baranda for the details.
Standing alongside his Jordanian counterpart in Amman, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov repeated Moscow's position. Russia will not accept being sidelined in talks about Ukraine's security.
Россия своих интересов не завышает, но наши законные интересы мы будем обеспечивать твердо и жестко. И я уверен, что на Западе, прежде всего в Соединенных Штатах, прекрасно понимают, что всерьез обсуждать вопросы обеспечения безопасности без Российской Федерации – это утопия, это путь в никуда.
As a reminder, Lavrov recalls the year 2022 when Russia had accepted a Ukrainian proposal for security guarantees from the permanent members of the UN Security Council, including the US, Britain, France, China, and Russia itself, alongside with Germany and Turkey. Lavrov's comments came just days after US President Donald Trump met in Washington with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and several European leaders. They discussed security guarantees for Kiev but stopped short of NATO membership. Trump earlier said there would be no Crimea and no NATO accession for Ukraine. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, Franco Baranda, SMNI News.
Coming up, big promises, tough questions. The Philippine Agriculture Department says it needs a whopping 3.5 trillion pesos to boost the country's farm sector. But senators aren't buying it, pressing officials why rice output keeps falling despite the bigger budget. And Cambodia is ramping up its green finance push, turning to sustainable bonds to help pay for climate and development goals. More news after the break.
Madalas ka bang napapasobra sa pag-scroll sa phone mo kahit puro masasamang balita ang nakikita mo? Isipin mo ito. Nakahiga ka na sa kama, nagche-check lang ng phone bago matulog. Tapos, hindi mo na malayan, ilang oras ka na palang nagbabasa at nanonood ng mga balita tungkol sa digmaan, sakuna, politika at lahat ng masasamang nangyayari sa mundo. Nakakaramdam ka na ng kaba at pagod, pero tuloy mo pa rin ang scroll mo. Ang tawag dyan ay doom scrolling. Ito ang habit ng paulit-ulit na pagtingin sa mga negatibo o nakakadepress na content tulad ng digmaan, krimen o problema sa mundo. Nakaka-stress pero hindi mo pa rin mapigilan. Ayon sa isang pag-aaral ng Texas Tech University, ang sobrang konsumo ng masasamang balita ay nauugnay sa pagtaas ng stress, anxiety at pisikal na sintomas gaya ng pagkapagod at sakit ng ulo. Ayon naman sa Harvard Health, ang doom scrolling ay nagpapataas ng fight or flight hormones tulad ng cortisol at adrenaline na nakakapagpabigat ng isip at katawan. Nakakaapekto ito sa iyong mood, tulog at maging sa mental at physical health mo. At kapag naman puro memes at random na content ang pinapanood mo ng sunod-sunod hanggang sa mawalan ka na ng gana na mag-isip at gumawa ng iba pang gawain, ang tawag naman dyan ay brain rot. Sa Gen Z at tinatawag na internet culture, ang brain rot ay overconsumption o sobrang tagal na panonood ng paulit-ulit, mababaw, magulo o walang saysay na content online hanggang sa parang manhid na ang utak mo. Kapag nasobrahan, syempre, nakakasama. Nawawalan ka na ng focus, nawawala ang motivation, hirap mag-isip ng malalim, parang lutang o foggy ang utak. Masaya sa simula, pero kapag sobra, napapagod ang isip mo. Nahihirapang mag-concentrate at parang lutang. Mas delikado pa ito sa mga bata dahil ang utak nila ay nasa proseso pa ng pag-develop. kaya mas malakas ang epekto ng doom scrolling at brain rot sa kanila. Maaaring makaapekto sa pag-aaral, pag-iisip at pakikitungo sa iba. Ang higit sa 4 na oras ng screen time araw-araw sa mga kabataan ay konektado sa 35 to 88% na mas mataas na posibilidad ng depresyon, anxiety at stress. Base ito sa isang malawakang pag-aaral sa Brazil. Kaya, maging balanse. Magpahinga sa screen. Magbasa. Makipagkwentuhan. Magdasal. Maging present lagi. Alagaan ang iyong isipan. Kung anong itinatanim sa isipan mo, yun ang lalago.
The agriculture sector in the Philippines is under scrutiny. The Department of Agriculture says 3.5 trillion pesos is needed to strengthen farming, while senators question why rice production is falling even as funding doubles. This report from MJ Mondihar.
The Philippines is an agriculture country, yet it relies on other nations for its food supply, such as rice. That is why in a Senate hearing, the Department of Agriculture, DA, was asked how much is really needed to grow the country's agriculture sector.
We calculated the total investment requirement for agriculture to work properly is 3.5 trillion peso.
The DA says around 11.2 million Filipinos work in agriculture, almost a quarter of all employed citizens. But farmers and fisher folk remain the poorest workers in the Philippines, despite being the backbone of the sector. Climate change is expected to make these challenges even worse.
Admittedly, the growing impact of climate-related disasters. We are number one today in terms of disaster, both, of course, because of the storms and also other disasters.
Under the National Expenditure Program for 2026, the DA's budget is set at 176 plus billion pesos, higher to its 155.6 billion budget this year. The DA also presented its wish list before senators, including a proposed agri-canal system that could serve as both a water reservoir and a transport system for farmers.
Instead of just creating roads, why not build canals, which can be a water reservoir and also at the same time a transport system for our farmers.
Meanwhile, senators grilled the DA over why rice production dropped even as government funding doubled.
Halos doble ang binibigay ng Pangulo sa DA. Bakit yung rice output natin nagmula sa 19.76 million metric tons noong 2022, bakit naging 19 million metric tons? Lumiit pa.
The DA admitted to the problem. The reason?
Well, I can attribute that to El Nino and La Nina next year. Sama talaga ng production natin.
Despite the challenges, the DA projects more than 20 million metric tons of rice will be harvested this year under the National Rice Program, even though the program's budget was cut by 10 billion.
Nung lumabas sa BICAM yung aming budget for 2025, nabawasan ho ng 10 billion ang rice program namin.
The budget cut delayed procurement of seedlings and fertilizers for farmers, but the DA assures it's finding ways to address the problem.
Yung 30 billion sa rice program na traditionally binibigay sa ng BICAM, nawala yung 10 billion. At so delayed na lahat ng procurement namin for the whole year.
For Gaza Philippines, MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
In the United States, the FDA is warning Americans to stay away from a certain brand of frozen shrimp. The concern, it may be contaminated with radioactive material. SoKor for the details.
This week, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration issued a strong warning: do not eat, sell, or serve Great Value brand frozen raw shrimp sold at Walmart in 13 states. The products, imported from Indonesia and distributed by BMS Foods, tested positive at several U.S. ports for cesium-137. For cesium-137, a radioactive isotope linked to nuclear fission. The isotope does not cause acute radiation poisoning at the levels detected, but repeated exposure could raise risk of cancer and cardiovascular disease over time. The FDA confirmed detection of cesium-137 at 4 major U.S. entry points: Los Angeles, Houston, Savannah, and Miami. Out of caution, regulators denied entry to all suspect shipments. While no contaminated shrimp has been confirmed in American supermarkets, officials say at least one shipment of breaded shrimp tested positive, prompting them to block further imports. The U.S. FDA cautions anyone who recently purchased one of the impacted lots of Great Value raw frozen shrimp from Walmart to throw it away immediately and not to eat or serve it. The agency also directed distributors and retailers to dispose of the product and to stop selling or serving it, and that anyone who suspects they have been exposed to elevated levels of cesium should consult their healthcare provider. Walmart says it has already removed the frozen shrimp from stores and is offering refunds and is cooperating fully with the FDA. Reporting for Newsline World, this is Cha Corbo, SMNI News.
In sports, there's big moves on and off the field. Arsenal pulls off a stunning transfer coup, snatching Eberechi Eze from rivals Tottenham in a £60 million swoop. And on the track, Britain's Kelly Hodgkinson continues her blazing run, storming to back-to-back Diamond League victories. Here's Carla De La Peña for the news.
A dramatic twist in the transfer market. Arsenal have snatched Crystal Palace star Eberechi Eze right from under Tottenham's nose. The 27-year-old forward was on the brink of signing for Spurs until Arsenal swooped in with a £60 million deal. The move follows fresh concerns over Kai Havertz's knee injury, prompting the Gunners to reinforce their attack. Eze, who bagged 14 goals last season and helped fire Palace to FA Cup glory, now becomes part of Arsenal's new-look squad. He joins recent signings Martin Zubimendi, Noni Madueke, and Victor Gyökeres. For Tottenham, the hijack is a bitter setback. But for Arsenal, it's a bold statement, underlining their determination to end a long trophy drought and mount a serious title challenge. Meanwhile, British middle distance star Kelly Hodgkinson is on fire, storming to back-to-back victories on a Diamond League stage. Just days after a stunning win in Silesia, Hodgkinson doubled up in Lausanne, cruising to another 800-meter gold and setting a new meet record in the process. Switzerland's Audrey Wero gave chase for second, while Hodgkinson's own training partner, Georgia Hunter-Bell, rounded out the podium. With the World Championships in Tokyo just weeks away, the 22-year-old looks every bit the favorite. Hodgkinson says her priority now is to stay healthy and keep her golden momentum rolling onto the global stage. Reporting for Newsline World, this is Carlo De La Peña, bringing you the latest sports news.
After years of balancing family life and Hollywood fame, Angelina Jolie is preparing for a major life change. Sources say the actress is ready to move abroad, marking a bold new chapter far from the spotlight of Los Angeles. Here's Andrea Santos for Showbiz News.
A new chapter beckons for Hollywood superstar Angelina Jolie. The actress is reportedly planning to leave Los Angeles and start life abroad, putting her $24.5 million Los Feliz mansion up for sale. The estate, a Los Feliz landmark, was originally built in 1913 and once owned by legendary filmmaker Cecil DeMille. Jolie purchased it in 2017 and it has played a central role in raising her children. With her youngest twins, Knox and Vivienne, turning 18 next year, Jolie is finally free to make the move she's long desired. Her plans had been delayed by her ongoing divorce settlement with ex-husband Brad Pitt, which required her to stay in Los Angeles until all the children reached adulthood. Before listing the property, Jolie will make a few minor upgrades, but sources say she is ready to close this chapter of her life and embrace a fresh start overseas. From Hollywood stardom to a new international home, Angelina Jolie is showing that even the biggest stars can start over. This is Andrea Santos, your citizen correspondent, bringing you the latest showbuzz.
The internet is mourning the loss of one of its most beloved personalities. Judge Frank Caprio, the Rhode Island jurist whose compassion in the courtroom went viral online, has died. He was 88 years old. Caprio passed away after a long battle with pancreatic cancer. In a video he shared just days before his death, he told followers he had suffered a setback and asked once again for their prayers. Best known from his show Caught in Providence, Caprio became a viral sensation for rulings filled with humor, humility, and above all, kindness. Millions watched him online as he forgave fines, offered second chances, and reminded people of their shared humanity. His family released a statement calling him beloved for his compassion, humility, and unwavering belief in the goodness of people. To the very end, Judge Caprio believed in the goodness of people, and many of those people remember him not only as a respected judge, but as a devoted husband, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. Judge Frank Caprio's legacy lives on in the countless acts of kindness he inspired. His family is asking people to honor his memory by showing a little more compassion to one another, just as he did every day. Meanwhile, Cambodia is stepping up efforts to attract new issuers for its sustainable bond initiative aimed at financing projects that advance the country's climate and development goals. More details from Chatmongkol, Pisamay Goson.
Cambodia is stepping up its push for green finance. The Cambodia Sustainable Bond Accelerator, launched in 2023, provides both financial and technical support for companies issuing green and sustainability-linked bonds. Securities and Exchange Regulator Chief Su Sochit says the initiative aims to unlock funding for projects such as renewable energy, sustainable transport, smart agriculture, and eco-friendly infrastructure. Backed by the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, the Global Green Growth Institute, and the Credit Guarantee Corporation of Cambodia, the program also helps companies meet global sustainable bond standards while cutting issuance costs. So far, the initiative has facilitated more than $60 million in green bonds, with another $100 million in the pipeline. So she says the progress highlights strong cooperation among regulators, partners, and market players, and allies with Cambodia's wider sustainable development goals. Application for the program's third phase are open until the 31st of August. I'm Chatmongkol Pisamay Goson, your Global Citizens correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Japan's exports recorded their steepest drop since early 2021 in July as U.S. tariffs on cars and steel weighed heavily on trade, raising fresh concerns about the country's economic outlook. This report from Sheila Lee.
Japan's export sector is showing signs of strain. Government data released Wednesday revealed that exports fell 2.6% compared to last year, a sharper drop than analysts expected. The decline was led by weaker shipments of automobiles, auto parts, and steel, industries hit hardest by U.S. tariffs. Even with a small 1.2% rise in export volumes, companies appear to be cutting prices to stay competitive in the U.S. market. Exports to the U.S. tumbled 10.1%, with vehicle shipments plunging nearly 30% in value. Imports also fell 7.5%, mainly due to lower energy purchases. Still, Japan recorded a trade deficit of 117.5 billion yen. Economists warn that continued export weakness could push the economy into contraction after 5 straight quarters of growth. The Bank of Japan, which meets in September, is expected to remain cautious amid global trade tensions. Analysts say any delay in easing U.S. tariffs could deepen the strain on manufacturers, with automakers like Toyota already forecasting heavy losses. Exports to China and Europe are also slowing, highlighting how tariffs and weakening global demand are clouding Japan's trade outlook. This has been Shelu Lee, your Global Citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
In Southern California, one Labrador has turned a simple daily routine into a viral sensation with her own special doorbell and a very special neighbor.
Amy, are you ready for the highlight of your day? Go sit, Rose.
Almost every day, and they've racked up millions of views online. Before she had her doorbell, Emmy scratched at the door, and Linda admits she felt sad if she ever missed the visits. So Russell came up with a solution: teach Emmy to press a bell. Now when he says go see Linda Rose, Emmy sprints across the street with tail wagging. And here's the sweet surprise: Emmy isn't just a neighborhood charmer, she's also a trained service dog. For Emmy, friendship and service go hand in paw. And for her neighbors, these daily visits are the highlight of the day. Millions online may adore her, but for Emmy and Linda Rose, this simple tradition proves that sometimes the smallest rituals bring the biggest joy. And before we end, may we be inspired with the words of the sun. No reason for me to be weak in life's battles. The Father's goodness and love are so endless that He even made a way for the salvation of my soul. I put my trust in Him. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines. I'm Fatima Nawzil. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.